Another day, another Netflix live action adaptation, because clearly they can't help themselves. And this time it's Pokémon stepping up for the real world treatment, because why not stop at games, cards, movies, animated shows, when you can just make it live action and hope for the best. Like it or not, Pokémon has been everywhere our whole life, and as the biggest franchise on this planet, it's not slowing down anytime soon. So of course Netflix wants in on the action. So is it really happening? Or is it just another Hollywood fever dream? Well, today we're gonna dive into the 5 things we do know about the Pokémon live action series. So let's not waste any more time. I'm Connor for SLUURP, and let's dive into it. And kicking off our list at number 5 is the fact that it's live action. Oh right, so yeah, stating the bloody obvious, I know, but this is a big deal for the Pokémon franchise. Yeah, we had Detective Pikachu, and while that movie catered to a younger audience, it was still epic seeing those characters in live action for the first time. It also proved that CGI Pokémon can look good and actually feel like they belong in the real world setting, so at the very least, we can be confident that this show should look visually impressive. But of course Netflix doesn't exactly have the best track record when it comes to live action adaptations. Death Note is coughing in the corner over there, sorry about that. What should have been an intricate psychological battle of wits got reduced to a dumbed down, oversimplified mess, all crammed into a 100-minute runtime. It was doomed from the start, so yeah, fans absolutely have the right to be skeptical. And we'll be getting into more of that in this video. It actually sounds like the Pokémon series might be a more faithful adaptation. It's pulling heavily from the main games and the anime, which is exactly what built the franchise's massive fanbase in the first place. Coming in at number 4, Red. According to our favourite Hollywood scooper Daniel RPK, the upcoming live action Pokémon series is set to bring Red to life. And if you didn't already know, Red was the OG Pokémon trainer, the guy who inspired Ash Ketchum. He's been around since the very first gen games, popped up in the manga, and even made a comeback as a post-game boss in Gold and Silver. Oh, and let's not forget Pokémon Generations, the 2016 anime series where he actually got some decent screen time. For years, Red has taken the backseat to Ash, but it looks like he might be stepping into the spotlight as the main character for Netflix's live-action show. Red is one of the most iconic Pokémon characters, probably only behind Ash and Pikachu in recognizability. His squad is stacked with iconic Pokémon. You've got Pikachu, Venusaur, Blastoise, Charizard, Snorlax, and Lapras. My god. His story is just as legendary as his lineup, so on paper he makes total sense as the lead for the live action adaptation. So why are some Pokémon fans losing their minds over this? Well, one reason. Red doesn't speak, like, at all. He's a silent protagonist. Even when you face him in the post-game, he just stands there. But in the Netflix show, apparently he will talk, and some fans are hating that as a concept, even though he's only silent because of the early game design limitations. And even though Pokémon Generations gave him a voice, and even though it makes zero sense for a live action show to have a protagonist who just stands there. But hey, logic is optional in fan outrage. So what do you think? Are you on board with Red finally speaking, or would you rather Netflix take a different approach? Hey, maybe they could even make me the lead. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Number 3, Detective Pikachu crossover. So Detective Pikachu co-writer Dan Hernandez confirmed in an interview with Comic Book that the Ryan Reynolds movie actually exists in the same canon as the Pokémon anime. His take? Well, Detective Pikachu is just another part of the world where things operate a little differently. This means there's no reason why Netflix's live action series couldn't fit into the same continuity as both the anime and Detective Pikachu. In fact, it would probably benefit from embracing both, other than a talking Pikachu, because that just doesn't sit right with me. While Netflix will obviously want to establish its own identity with the series, it can still build upon the groundwork Detective Pikachu laid, especially when it comes to CGI Pokemon designs. I mean, the movie proved that Pokemon can look great in a live action setting, even if it didn't showcase the full range of creatures. The Netflix series will need to scale that up massively, but at least Detective Pikachu gave them a solid starting point. Since the first episode of Pokémon aired back in 1997, this franchise has been pumping out content at an insane rate. The franchise has kept things fresh by constantly adding new Pokemon, tweaking existing ones, while also rotating Ash's sidekicks, so they never get stuck in the same old routine. The one thing that the anime never really nailed fully though, was moving the story in a direction that feels genuinely different from what we've seen before. So I hate to say it, but Detective Pikachu actually did a pretty good job of this, showing us that it can be done, and proving that a Netflix live action series can easily build off that momentum. By diving into a live action Pokemon series, the franchise gets the chance to do a soft reboot while staying true to the core of the anime. It's like kind of a reboot spin-off hybrid that keeps its past intact but isn't afraid to try something new. I mean, sure, it might be a little weird at first seeing some of the more iconic anime characters in the live action setting, but shifting newer characters from Detective Pikachu into the mix gives the show a solid starting point. Number 2. Ash and Pikachu's return. Popular YouTuber Christian Harloff has weighed in on the upcoming Pokemon live action series, claiming Netflix is banking on it being their next big hit, following Stranger Things. If that's true, we could be looking at a release sooner than we think, with Stranger Things wrapping up its final season this year. I mean, I think there's a chance that the Pokemon series could drop by the end of this year or early next. Christian Harloff also pointed out that there's a reason Ash's journey wrapped up in the anime, and it's likely because Netflix is planning to introduce him into the live action series, which is super exciting to think about. But alternatively, and less exciting, they might just be looking to shift the focus away from the anime and Ash onto this new show going forward. So with Ash's final Pokemon episode in the rear view, the duo of Ash and Pikachu are officially free from the main show. But don't start crying just yet. As I said, this doesn't necessarily mean they're gone for good. Now that they're no longer tied to the anime, there's nothing stopping Ash and Pikachu from making an appearance in a future Detective Pikachu movie, or even Netflix's live action Pokemon series. Sure, it's sad to see them go, but the freedom it gives the show's creators is a pretty solid trade-off if you ask me. If Ash and Pikachu had stayed in the anime, any live action appearance would have been a logistical nightmare. I mean, think about it, trying to fit them into the timeline without messing everything up. But now, with their anime journeys wrapped up, Netflix has the luxury of putting Ash and Pikachu anywhere post-anime. This opens up the possibility of the live-action show to slot them perfectly in to the broader Pokemon canon. And let's be real, part of the reason Pokemon keeps resurging in popularity is because of the OG fans who've grown up with it, and they are nostalgic as hell. Seeing Ash and Pikachu come back but in a whole new light in live action would be a major win for longtime fans and new ones alike, especially with those shiny visuals to reel in the younger crowd. Regardless, the narrative freedom this live action series has is definitely something worth getting hyped for. And coming in at number 1, mind-blowing early previews. Grace Randolph is a YouTuber, film critic and entertainment journalist best known for running Beyond the Trailer, where she dishes out movie reviews, box office breakdowns and insider scoops on Hollywood's biggest projects. She's got a reputation for bold opinions, some interesting takes, and leaks that sometimes hit the mark, and also often spark debate. But thanks to her, we've got some indication of how this series is shaping up. Randolph claimed that she heard that the animation tests for this Pokemon show were incredible, and that Netflix is convinced this will be the best thing they've ever put out.
I know that Netflix has a Pokemon series coming up, and I hear they are extremely happy with it. I heard that some of the animation tests are incredible. In fact, they feel it's better than anything that's been done before.
That is a bold statement. If this is true and you're not hyped for this show, then honestly, I don't know what will do it for you at this point. Let's be real, as we know, Netflix doesn't exactly have a flawless track record when it comes to adaptations, so we'll be the judge of that when it finally drops. Whether you're cautiously optimistic or already in full give me this show now mode, I think we can all agree we're at least curious to see how this one plays out. And obviously, we're hoping it actually lives up to Grace Randolph's hype. But for now, that's a wrap on our list. Are you excited about Netflix's live-action Pokemon series? We want to hear all your thoughts, so drop them in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our latest content. And hey, if you're already wondering what this series might look like, check out this clip from our live-action Pokemon trailer.
My brother left home with a dream of becoming the greatest Pokemon trainer of all time. He was my hero, and man, he nearly did it. But he died before the finals.
Look, kid, I knew your brother. He was good, could have been one of the greats.